Last night, you plugged your phone into a wall. That wall connects to a grid of copper wires that stretches for millions of miles. 120 years ago, a man stood in a field on Long Island and swore he could delete every one of those wires. That electricity could travel through the open air itself, free to anyone, anywhere. Then, his tower came down, and we were told to forget he ever tried. Nikola Tesla was not a crank. He was the man who won the war to light the modern world. So why did his final, greatest idea get buried in the ground? And how, decades later, did it get tangled up with a strange theory about the pyramids of Egypt? Over the next few minutes, we will separate what Tesla actually built from the myth that grew in its place and find out what he really knew. The man who lit the world. Before we talk about Tesla's wildest dream, you have to know one thing. He was not a dreamer who never delivered. He is the reason the lights in your room turn on. The electricity running through your walls right now is alternating current, and it exists at that scale because Tesla figured out how to make it work. In the late 1880s, there was a genuine war over electricity. Thomas Edison had built an empire on direct current, which could only travel a short distance before it faded out. Tesla, backed by the industrialist George Westinghouse, bet on alternating current, which could be pushed across entire cities. The historian W. Bernard Carlson, in his 2013 biography published by Princeton University Press, describes how Tesla's alternating current motor became the backbone of the modern power grid. Edison fought it viciously, even staging public demonstrations to make it look deadly. Tesla won anyway. Almost every wall socket on Earth today runs on the system he designed. You felt this yesterday without noticing. You charged a laptop, ran a microwave, flipped a light switch, all of it alternating current, all of it flowing from one stubborn immigrant who refused to believe electricity had to stay trapped in wires near a power plant. That is the crucial part. When this man spoke about the future of energy, the world had every reason to listen. So when the man who had already been right about everything said he could send power through the open air, it was not the raving of a lunatic. It was a promise from the person who understood electricity better than anyone alive. The only question left was whether he could actually build it, and he was about to try. The dream of free energy. Tesla's dream is hard to believe, even now. He imagined a world where you did not pay for electricity by the wire. Instead, power would be broadcast through the earth and the air itself, the way a radio station broadcasts sound. You would pull energy out of your surroundings the way you tune in a station on a dial. No cables, no meter, no monthly bill. This was not a passing daydream. In 1900, Tesla laid it out in detail in a famous essay for the Century magazine titled "The Problem of Increasing Human Energy." In it, he argued that all human progress depends on harnessing ever greater amounts of energy, and he described transmitting power wirelessly across the entire planet. A year earlier in his laboratory in Colorado Springs, he had already lit lamps with no wires attached and sent artificial lightning cracking through the air. To the reporters who saw it, it looked like magic. To Tesla, it looked like a rough draft. Picture your monthly electric bill. Now picture it simply not existing, not because you went without power, but because power had become like the air, something your environment just provided. No account number, no meter on the side of the house. That was the future Tesla believed he was only months away from building, and one very rich man agreed with him. To turn a magic trick in Colorado into a system for the whole planet, Tesla needed money, serious money. And in 1901, the most powerful banker in America decided to bet on him. What rose up on a quiet stretch of Long Island would either change civilization or become the most famous ruin in the history of invention. The tower that fell. On the north shore of Long Island, in a town called Shoreham, Tesla began building the physical heart of his dream. He called it Wardenclyffe, a giant tower crowned with a huge dome of steel designed to pump electrical energy down into the earth and pull it back out anywhere on the globe. It was the most ambitious machine he ever attempted. The banker who funded it was J.P. Morgan, the richest financier in America. Construction began in 1901, and the tower eventually rose 187 feet into the sky. But there was a problem Tesla had not been honest about. Morgan thought he was paying for wireless communication, a way to send messages and beat Marconi's radio. Tesla actually wanted to send free power. As Mark Seifert documents in his 1996 biography of Tesla, once Morgan realized there was no way to put a meter on electricity broadcasts through the air, no way to bill anyone for it, he stopped writing checks. The money dried up. The tower sat unfinished and silent. In 1917, it was dynamited and sold for scrap. Think about the last time an idea of yours died, not because it was wrong, but because it stopped being profitable to someone who held the purse. That is what happened here, on a scale that may have changed history. The problem was never that Tesla's dream could not work. The problem was that if it did work, no one could charge you for it. A machine you cannot bill for is a machine that does not get built. Tesla died decades later, alone and deep in debt, his greatest work reduced to rubble and rumor. And it is exactly there, in the rubble and the rumor, that the strangest chapter of his whole story begins. The myth that grew. Here is where the real history ends and the legend takes over. In the decades after Tesla died, a story began to spread, first in a few fringe books, then all over the internet, that tied his wireless energy tower to the pyramids of Egypt. The claim was that the ancient pyramids were never tombs at all, but giant power plants, and that Tesla had secretly rediscovered their lost technology. It is a thrilling idea. It is also almost certainly not true. Let us be clear about the facts. There is no credible evidence that the pyramids ever generated electricity, and no record of Tesla himself ever claiming they did. The theory is what happens when a real mystery collides with a hunger for a bigger one. Tesla's tower looks strange and monumental. The pyramids look strange and monumental. Both were misunderstood in their own time. So people connected the dots, even though the dots were never actually connected. This is how myths get built, not from outright lies, but from real gaps in a story that the imagination rushes in to fill. And Tesla left an enormous gap. He was secretive. He burned through fortunes. His greatest project was destroyed. Into that silence, people poured the story they wanted to hear. You have seen this exact pattern yourself. A video autoplays late at night, ancient aliens, secret energy, a genius the powerful try to erase. It feels true because it is exciting and because it flatters us to imagine we are in on a hidden secret. But feeling true and being true are not the same thing. The pyramid theory tells us far more about what we crave than about anything Tesla actually did. The myth is seductive because it turns a loss into a conspiracy instead of a tragedy. But the real story does not need pyramids to be extraordinary. Strip away the legend, and what Tesla genuinely attempted is arguably stranger and far more important than any myth someone built on top of it. What Tesla actually knew. Strip away the pyramids and the conspiracies, and you are left with something that still matters. Tesla understood a principle that took the rest of the world another century to take seriously: that energy does not have to stay trapped in a wire. It can move through space. He was not wrong about the physics. He was just impossibly early. Look at the phone you charged last night. If it charges by simply resting on a pad with no cable at all, you are already using wireless power transfer. The same basic principle Tesla was chasing, now sitting on your nightstand. The historian W. Bernard Carlson argues that Tesla's real genius was seeing whole systems decades before the technology could catch up. Modern engineers have sent power across a room without any wires. Space agencies are now seriously studying solar farms in orbit that could beam energy down to Earth. None of it is free the way Tesla promised, and none of it yet powers a city. But the core idea he was mocked for, sending usable energy through the open air, is no longer science fiction. It is just engineering. So the next time you set your phone on a charging pad or read a headline about beaming solar power down from orbit, remember where the idea was really born. Not in a secret chamber under a pyramid, in a field on Long Island, in a tower that was torn down before it could finish its first sentence. Tesla did not fail because he was wrong. He failed because he asked the world to give something away. The dream was never really about pyramids or lost civilizations. It was about a world where power belonged to everyone and no one thought to send you a bill. We decided that world was impossible. Tesla spent his entire life insisting that we were the ones who had it wrong. So here's what Tesla actually knew once you clear away the legend. He knew the biggest barrier to his dream was never the physics, it was the money. A world with free wireless energy is technically closer today than it has ever been, but it still collides with one simple fact. Our entire civilization is built on selling energy by the unit. That is the real reason his tower fell, and the real reason a bill still lands in your account every single month. The pyramids were never the point. The point is that more than 100 years ago, one man looked at the wires strung across the whole world and refused to accept that this was the only way it could be. He was too early. He was too honest about the wrong things. He was too far ahead of the money. But he was not crazy, and he may not have been wrong. He was just unfinished. The wires are still up, the bill still comes, and somewhere in that gap, Tesla is still waiting for us to catch up.